Regional definition is more than just geography. We can see this in attempts to create the idea of an Asia-Pacific regional identity for political or economic reasons. For example, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The US has usually been behind this, but other members of the region were not always enthusiastic. This was especially if they were not even capitalist, but also if they didn't like the kind of liberal, market-oriented capitalism that the US promoted. However, the Asia-Pacific idea didn't really take off, and this partly explains why a more narrow East Asia region has become more interesting. But there are still obstacles to East Asian regionness. Some qualities are needed for this to develop. The first is basic geographical barriers and ecological characteristics. Following this, a social system that transcends the local and constitutes a regional security community is needed. This is difficult, especially because of China's increasing assertiveness. There are also other internal obstacles and the close ties between the US and some East Asian states. Organized cooperation in the fields of cultural, political, economic, and military affairs is also important. There are helpful signs in this area. The ASEAN Regional Forum provides the basis for security cooperation. There has also been some progress in political and economic integration. However, there is less progress in the area of culture. Although there are some commonalities and authoritarian government is common, the promotion of Asian values stopped with the 1990s crisis. The area of common values is mixed and constantly changing. There are some common views about forms of political and economic organization, and there are common sensitivities about Western intrusion. But much of the region is underdeveloped, and so is civil society. The final area is the capacity of the region to act as a subject with a distinct identity, legitimacy, and structure of decision-making. In this area, there are limits to the development of cooperative decision-making in Asia. National sovereignty is still jealously guarded, and there is a reluctance to pool sovereignty. East Asia looks a lot less developed than the EU as a region, but it still makes sense to think of the countries as members of a potential political and economic grouping, instead of just individual states in the same area of the planet. Security cooperation seems like the most difficult area. However, threats carry most directly over short areas. Therefore, in order to avoid conflict, neighbours must try to cooperate. In this respect, China's intentions and actions are crucial. The geopolitical context now is different to during the Cold War. Some scholars predict a return to a Sino-centric regional order. If this happens, the question is whether the underlying order will be translated into an institutionalized regional framework. The East Asian crisis of the 1990s brought renewed interest in regionalism. This was because of the possibility that regional institutions could provide the ability for collective action against external challenges. The crisis showed the region's vulnerability to external political and economic forces. Some actors in the region wanted to develop ways to make it more autonomous.